Welcome back, YouTube. Welcome back. I know it's been a minute. I'm gonna explain everything, but for now, let's just quickly the day before we start. So today's verse is First Corinthians 13, verse 1, and it says, I may be able to speak the language of men and even of angels, but if I have no love, my speech is no more than a noisy gong or a clanging bell. I may have the gift of inspired preaching. I may have all the knowledge and understand all secrets. I may have all the faith needed to move mountains, but if I have no love, I am nothing. I may give away everything I have and even give up my body to be burned, but if I have no love, this does me no good. So what does today's verse tells us? Today's verse tells us that live from love and surrender your life to God, right? And give it to God. And it also tells us we cannot give love if we did not receive it from God. So yeah, love your neighbors as you love yourself. Remember that. So yeah, let's get into it. So guys, I did take a week off. Like I think the last time I did a trade recap or even touched, took a trade was 2 weeks ago. And let me just quickly explain why. The reason why I took the week off was because I didn't feel like I had, serious momentum. I felt like I was on a losing streak. I wasn't in the right space. My mental game was elsewhere and I was just going through some, you know, serious problems, not like problems at home or anything, just in terms of believe in my concept, thoughts about what if the trade didn't go my way? I didn't trust my concept. So I was advised by my mentor to take a week off. So in that week, I was really, grinding every day. I slept at like 7 o'clock on some days, 7 a.m. just to grind, I kept on grinding like a madman until, I started finding different, things, different skills to help me out with my trading. And as you know, I'm a scalp trader. I use the 15-minute theory. And basically, the 15-minute theory is all about reversals. So I felt, I really felt like if I knew when a reversal was going to come, you know, if I had a little bit more to work on, you know, and I knew at which point a reversal was most likely to occur, I feel like that could help me a lot. So I really did research on that. I learned about, SMT divergence, the correlation between NAS100 and S&P 500. I started to drift away from US 30 because US 30 just did its own thing. I'd rather have like a bit more confirmation from S&P and NAS because they just move so similar. And, it's almost certain that, you know, if the one thing does what the other does, whereas with US 30, there's none of that, right? So I started focusing on that, and yeah, I really, learned a lot. And if you didn't see by the thumbnail, I did make my first profits. I actually made $90. So let's stop yapping and let's get straight into the trade recap. So, as you know, as usual, we do start off with my trading plan and let's go into it. So, guys, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it, I'm not gonna stand here and lie to you guys. I did kind of break my rules, I did break my rules, and you'll understand why. But I don't encourage one breaking their rules for profit. I'll explain which rule and why I broke my rules. So let's first read the rules and I'll tell you which rule I broke. So, you know, no trading on Mondays or Fridays. Only trade Monday if it's an A plus setup. Max 2 trades per day. If this first trade loses, stop for the day. Trade a second trade only if the first one wins. Max daily loss of $14. Max monthly loss of $62. 8 days per month, 2 days per week. Monthly goal $200, daily goal $25. Concepts 15-minute theory, daily theory, morning routine theory, trading in the zone formula, and landing kill zone. So I actually, now that I look at it properly, I did break two rules. Sorry, I broke two rules. The first rule I broke is no trading on Monday, only trade if it's an A plus setup, right? And the reason why I say I broke this rule is because in my heart I knew 100% the market was gonna go my way, right? But you know, in other videos before this video, if you go look at my previous videos, you'll notice I said an A plus setup is if all these concepts align. And the reason why I didn't check if all these concepts aligned is because I feel like, you know, as a trader, it's better for me to focus on one concept than multiple other concepts. So I really believe that if I can master one concept and make the most out of, the concepts that I'm being taught, sorry, the concept that I'm being taught, I still feel like I can be as profitable as someone who uses all these concepts. I feel like, it's just the way you utilize your skills, the way you use your skills, that matters. So I don't really think it matters if I know all these concepts or if I master these concepts. You know, bro, for me, I'm not a guy who works under pressure. So I can only focus on one thing. So I chose the 15-minute theory. And the second rule I broke was the max daily loss of $14, right? And I broke this rule because although the trade went my way, I put the stop loss at like $30, something like that. And I'll explain in the trade recap. But yeah, I did break those two rules. I don't encourage it. But guys, to be fair, if you're a trader beginning, meant to be broken. I'm not encouraging it. I encourage strictly stick with your trading plan and then after a few months or few weeks see what works. But for me, it's clear to see I didn't stick with my trading plan. I'm sorry. I can't sugarcoat it. I told you guys I'll be raw and real with you guys. I'll tell you when I'm not real and I'll tell you when I lose. This for me was a loss. So yeah, let's get into it. So let me quickly run you through the moments that led up to me taking this trade. So on Sunday, I sat down for the whole day, brushing up on the skills I learned throughout the week, backtesting each and every trade I could backtest. After that, I got on a call with my boy to discuss my thesis, and my thesis wasn't your normal thesis because based on every concept I learned within my academy. But I didn't do that this time. My thesis was different this time. I can say that. For sure, my mentor might not be happy, but it is what it is. My thesis was mostly based on the 15-minute theory and using NAS and the SMP together. So once I did that thesis, I really looked into it and I learned about SMT divergence, the correlation between NAS100 and SMP 500. Once I learned about that, I spotted an SMT divergence. I spotted NAS took out these lows, but the S&P didn't. So it's almost like, you have one confirmation that price is most tomorrow. So I was very, that adds onto the confidence. And look at the candlestick we had the previous week before I took the trade. We had that candlestick and the next day was bullish. So I was expecting the same thing. Usually this candlestick is an indication for bullish momentum the next day. So I saw that I was like, okay, I marked out the SMT divergence. So that's one point. And then I also marked out the fair value gaps, right? And I did learn about fair value gaps. And the reason why I marked out the fair value gaps is because fair value gaps are points where price is most likely to retest or inverse. So if you know how to play your cards right, you most likely know what you're doing. And what I love most about this trade is I called price to a T. I kid you not, I called price to a T. I called it. Yeah, and you most likely not, but you can ask my boy. I called price to a T. I sat down with him. I'm like, okay, bro, listen, listen. Last week Friday, last week Friday we ended off, bullish with that bullish candlestick. So I was like, bro, most likely on Monday we gonna get a retest We're gonna get a retest. We're gonna start off with a retest into this fair value gap, and then a bounce up into the daily fair value gap. And from the daily fair value gap, you know, my job as a trader is not to, try aim predict where market is going, to make a hypothesis. So my hypothesis is, if we pass this fair value gap, I'm allowed to take a second trade that goes even further up, aiming for these highs. But if we don't, just go here. So I was like, okay, for the first trade, what I'm looking for price to do is, I want price to retest this fair value gap, right? And that's exactly what we got. Look, exactly when market opened, right? When market opened, when market opened at 11 Friday, 11 o'clock, it retested down here. It retested. For us, it was 12 p.m. if I'm sure. Sorry, not 12 p.m. 12 a.m. It retested. I was up at 12 a.m. because I'm a madman. It retested into this fair value gap. I told myself I'm gonna use the 15-minute theory to trade this. So I hopped down to the 5 minute, right? Let me just do the replay right here. I hopped down to the 5 minute, and I low key saw that, right? And from that, I was like, okay, you know, from that, I was like, okay, that's a strong bullish momentum to the upside. I was like, maybe that's the retest we got, or, I really thought, but I was wrong. We didn't retest just yet. That's the retest I was waiting for. So what I did is, I marked out my right there, because I'll show you on 1 minute we did get a promising COD in 1 minute. Yep, on 1 minute we got the COD right there. So I told myself, we have the COD, we have the COD, we have the CO. Let me type it out correctly. We have the COD, we have the COD, and from the COD we can look for a promising candlestick. We can look for other confirmations, but in my opinion, I already had enough confirmations that we were moving up. SMT divergence, it bounced off the fair value gap. You know, I was so confident in this trade. So yeah, market played out at the bottom, hit my. I did enter. I did enter, and this is where I said I broke one of my rules, because, right, the reason why I say I broke one of my rules is because this was not $14. This was, like, I think, if I'm sure about it, this was somewhere around about 30 something dollars. So I did risk 30 something dollars. Okay, we broke past my COD, and I entered the trade. And immediately when I was in profits, I put my trade at break even, which was a mistake, because boom, price hit the price hit the break even point. Price hit the break even, and I told myself, in my head, I told myself, no ways price hits the break even point. you know I told myself, no ways price doesn't go. This was before this other candlestick formed. I told myself, no ways price doesn't do what I wanted to do. you know Prior to this trade, I went to go pray, and once I prayed, I co- I had confidence, man. I had confidence that market was gonna go my way. And immediately after I prayed, price didn't go my way. But you know, other people would have went to sleep because it was 1 a.m. in the morning, 12 a.m., whatever time it was. Other people would have went to sleep, but not me. I sat down, I'm like, okay, it hit break even. I did not lose. I did not lose. Right? It hit break even. I did not lose. I didn't lose. So I can enter another trade because I lost nothing. I can enter another trade. So That's exactly what I did. I entered again and boom. Before I didn't hit break even, then this is when I hit break even. This point right here, Now I finally understood that you have to wait for price to take out one of the highs before you enter. Wait, that's exactly what price did, and yeah, watch the trade play out. Let's just move it a bit faster. Yeah, so as you can see, yeah, that's basically the whole trade. I just forgot, sorry about that, I just realized that the reason why it didn't hit break even exactly is because, as I said, this is a different broker. This is Pepperstone. So on the Pepperstone, it didn't hit TP, but on my other charts, it did hit, it did hit the TP. It did go the way I wanted it to go. So yeah, that all trade for you. So yeah, that's that trade. Now onto the other trade. So yeah, listen, right? So this is the second trade I took, right? I told my boy this was around, before this was before, market close. I told my boy we were really bearish on, we were really bearish on what you call this day. We were really bearish on Monday. I'm like, bro, there's reversals that happen at each and every point. Your job, is to guess when these reversals happen. So I sat down. Market's about to close, and when market opens, it's Asia session. So I sat down. I analyzed my chart. I'm like, I literally called it. I told, I don't know if you can see it, but I'm just gonna show it. I told my boy, uh, don't worry, there's most likely going to be another reversal to the upside from this bearish market because we missed an entry. There was a 50-minute concept right there. We missed that entry. So I told him, there's gonna most likely gonna be a reversal to the upside. I called it. And then 3 minutes later I say watch carefully what price does. I told him watch carefully what price does. So I showed him that, I I went down, I went down to we started the 15 minute, we had our fair value gap, we had an SMT divergence before market closed. So I was pretty confident. I was so confident, I was so confident moving into this trade. I told him, bro, watch carefully what market does. I sat down, marked out my candle low, and marked up my candle high. I wanted to aim there, but I broke down step by step. I saw 1 hour fair value gap, and I'm like, you know what, market is most likely not gonna try reach for this high, but if it does, I put TP there. So I told my boy that, yeah, and then after that, literally, what happened again? Oh yeah, I moved down to 5 minute on the 5 minute. On the 5 minute, I told my boy, I said, bro, watch carefully what market does, right? I told him, watch carefully what market does. At this point, I sent him the 5 minute picture. I marked out my COD. This time, we had an A plus A. This is a proper A plus setup. I have my COD. From my COD, promising candlestick, we enter. Boom. Bob's your uncle. Bob's your uncle. confirm. In fact, let's go down to, because I don't think I think I entered earlier than that, if I'm being completely honest. No, I think I entered, yes, exactly. There's another COD there. I entered that COD because that I remember. I entered that COD. Bob's your uncle. This one I did risk a lot more. I did set my stop loss just below that SMT divergence, and I literally aimed for here. I aimed there, and then literally let's watch this play out. Sorry, I took this trade on. I actually took this trade on NAS100. So let me. Sorry about that. I took this trade on NAS100. So marked up my lows. Marked up my lows. CL. CL, and went down to the 5 minute. Went down to the 5 minute. Went down to 3 minute. 3 minute. I entered right there. Entered right there. And long position. Wrong position. Yeah. And let's watch that replay. Let's watch that replay properly. And boom. So this point, I told my boy, watch carefully what price does, because price is most likely gonna reverse back up. Watch properly what price does. I did actually enter there, right there, and it did go into like drawdown. I wasn't nervous. I was confident. Boom. I saw price play out properly. Once I saw price, reach higher than this. Sorry, let me stop for a moment. Once I saw price reach higher, I literally took my stop loss. I think I was $25 in right there. I put my stop loss there. I told myself, you know what, I'm tired. I want to go sleep. Which I lied to myself, bro. I actually stayed up until the trade hit. I'm tired. I want to go sleep. My trade is there. Boom. And then I literally think once once market reopened, I was nervous. I was nervous. I was literally, my TP was still up there. My TP was still up there, and then we got a strong reversal to the downside, and I closed my trade right there because I realized that this fair value gap could get respected. So I closed my trade there, and yeah, boom. Yeah, exactly. What was your uncle? Long story short, if I do continue playing, the fair value gap was actually, the fair value gap was respected, and it did go down. So it's a good thing I did close my trade. And yeah, that's basically the trade recap. So let's go into the P&L. So yeah, man. Basically this is the P&L. Remember last week we basically took losses. No, 2 weeks ago we took losses on losses. Um, as you can see, there's the P&L. I am back up. Trading days. I am back up. Let me show you the trading history so that you guys can check. I did lose, and then the one trade I didn't do a trade recap on, but I did hit break even, and then from break even, I took another trade, but this was on that same week. No, this was the same day. Yeah, this was the same day. I told you I hit break even, then I hit break even, and then I entered again. So yeah, there's that trade recap. This is on the eval account. I have a 25% win rate, which I should work on getting up, but I believe that I can get it, above 50%. I have $2,511 and the profit remaining. So that's the eval. This is the instant account. On my instant account, I literally, I'm up so much. I'm not up so much, but I am up. This is my instant account. You know, I did have that $3.67% win rate consistency rate, next payout, whatnot, whatnot. Uh, I don't have any targets. I didn't hit daily loss. Max drawdown -$6. And yeah, you guys are gonna see. This was the one trade I showed, and this is today's trade. Right, I did a recap for Monday's trade. I am gonna do a recap for today's trade later. I just don't want to make the video long. You know, a few things I want to say before I close off this video. First thing I want to actually say is shout out to my boy. Honorable shout out to my boy Toby. He's the reason why I'm here today. He's the reason why I was able to continue grinding. All those nights I slept late, he was there, he was texting me, making sure I'm okay, giving me some words of encouragement, and he literally gave me the money so I could buy these platform accounts you see today. So I just want to give him an honorable shout out and say thank you, bro, for believing in me, and thank you for supporting me, right? And I just want to sit down and take a moment. This is going to be a long ass video, but the true supporters will sit through it. Some won't. It's up to you. I may sound boring, but this is what trading is. Some people find it boring, some people find it not exciting. So, bro, um, you know, I want to tell you guys, believe in yourselves. Firstly, believe in your skills. Take some time off to focus on yourself. Don't rush the profits. Don't rush the profits. That's why I believe I was genuinely taking losses, because I was impatient. I was rushing profits, and in this case I wasn't rushing profits. Like in a few instances, maybe the trade recap, you're gonna see that I took on today's trade. The today was Wednesday, the 19th of November. I could have made a lot more, but I told myself, let me respect my trading plan. I put TP where it was meant to be, and that was that. I took what I could from the markets, and I'm genuinely, it's all about discipline. It's all about showing up. Last week, I showed up for myself each and every day. Some people don't see it, some people do. And I showed up for myself, bro. I genuinely spent night grinding. People, some people are gonna come here and tell me, hey man, you haven't been grinding hard enough. Bro, I don't think you realize that, firstly, my sleeping schedule is fucked up. I barely have contact with anyone. I barely have contact with anyone. I'm not gonna lie to you and say I barely have contact with friends. I barely have contact with family. My social life is a mess right now, and that's the truth. That's because I'm too locked in into what I'm doing. I'm not saying it's okay, but I'm just saying that you don't know what someone else is going through, right? So don't judge someone else's life. Don't be a judger, and focus on you. Do you? So that's exactly what I did. And the reason why I said this is because we have a tendency of looking at other people, and we judge, or we jealous, or we envious of what they have going for them, and we tend to wish bad upon other people. And I just want to sit here and say that's not okay. That's not okay. And the reason why I'm gonna say it's not okay is because I used to be that person. I used to be the person who used to look at other people win while I was losing and say, bro, what the fuck? How come I'm not winning? How come I'm not in their positions? I used to be so upset. And the truth is, God doesn't want you feeling that way. Those are not the type of emotions we should be feeling. So focus on your life, focus on yourself, lock the fuck in. And once you lock the fuck in, believe in yourself, have faith, be consistent, show up every day, and be disciplined, and you will see that life is going to change around. I'm not profitable yet, but winning streak I have had is an indication that God is with me. He taught me a lesson, and I'm extremely grateful for that lesson. So, guys, this has been your boy, the architect. This has been a great trading week. I had some losses in me not respecting my trading plan, and I had some W's. You know, the end of the day is, ever watches this, mind your own fucking business. That's it. That's what I'm gonna say. And guys, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the comment section. Hit the comment section. And yeah, oh, did I say hit the comment section? Leave a comment in the comment section. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. And yeah, thank you. Peace.